Hello, everybody. You are watching Beyond the Highlights. I am your host, Brian Musalam, along with my co-host, Jason Strayhorn. Hope everybody is doing well. Today we have a special guest with us, as if all our guests are special, I would say, but this one's super special.
Super.
Former offensive guard for the Detroit Lions, Rob Sims, former Ohio State Buckeye, currently retired. Rob, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Good,
Thanks.
good.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks.
So tell us a little bit about your career, where you grew up at, how you headed to Detroit. Give us a little background.
Yeah, my dad played for the Cleveland Browns, so I'm second generation, as well as my wife. Her father played for the Dolphins. And,
Wow.
you know, when you play for Ohio, you know, when you play in Ohio and Ohio State comes knocking on your door, you know what I mean, you jump at the chance. But I had 33 other offers around the country. Michigan State was one of them. You know, some of the SEC schools, you know, some of the schools out west. So, you know, I went to Ohio State. I was Jim Tressell's first recruiting class there.
Is that 01?
That was 02.
02, okay.
02, and we actually won a national championship that year.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was a starting true freshman.
Oh, yeah.
Playing
So played in the Orange Bowl?
Fiesta Bowl.
Fiesta Bowl, that was Miami?
Yep, against Miami. Yep,
Wow.
played Vince Wilfork, DJ Williams. You know, the late Sean Taylor was on the field, so it was pretty crazy. Willis McGahee, so that's definitely one of the highlights of my career.
A lot of NFL stars
Yeah.
there, boy.
And then I started 40 games
Wow.
in college.
40
games in college, and you know, what a blessing. And then got drafted in the 4th round, pick 128, Seattle Seahawks. Played there under Mike Homer for 4 years.
How was that?
You know, it was great. It was challenging. You know, my father just passed away at the time. He had passed away a month after the draft.
Wow.
So never got a chance to watch me play. So, you know, if you can imagine, my family's in Cleveland and I'm, you know, in Seattle. It was tough. It was tough, but we got through it. You know, my third and fourth year, I played really well, and but maybe not well enough because I got traded to the Lions. But that's all right.
Oh, you got traded. Okay, so then you were
yeah.
traded in your last contract year?
Yeah, I was in my last contract year. You know, we were about to go on strike, or it looked like we were about to go on strike. The CBA wasn't signed.
Remind me, what years was that?
Yeah, that was 2009, 2010.
Okay.
And so 2010, you know, I came here to Detroit. I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. You know, it ended up being the best. Because I stuck around here. I made a lot of lifelong friends. You know, got interested in business and real estate, and you know, here I am now.
So tell us a little bit about your playing days with the Lions and just kind of the organization and where they were then to while you played to where you see them now.
Well, you know, as I mentioned, you know, I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Part of the reason was because, you know, they had came off of an 0-16 year and a 2-14 year, you know, right before I got there.
Two remarkable feats.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy.
History.
Yeah, and then you know, I got here and I kind of saw why. You know, it was a little bit of like the Bad News Bears a little bit. You know, we couldn't really make it through practice without having team brawls and fights and you know, all that. And it was, you know, it was different than what I was expecting because, you know, we were like, when we would, you know, do bad or, you know, we would fight, we'd end up running like it was high school or it was college. You know, it was a different mindset. And, you know, Jim Schwartz did a good job of kind of breaking that team up, getting some really good guys in there. You know, I like to think of myself as one of those guys that, you know, came in and helped turn the franchise around and became a playoff team.
So your last year was what with the Lions?
My last year was 2014.
So that was before. So you had Schwartz was that his last year?
Yep. So it was Caldwell's first year was my last year.
Caldwell's first year was your last year.
Yeah.
So you're now in the business world.
Yes.
Football's done.
Football's done.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Well, a lot of different things. When I was playing, I started just flipping houses. Well, I actually, you know, bought a few houses around Allen Park and we're renting them to players. That turned into meeting up with a group and signing with a group. We actually bought the naming rights for Remax here in southeastern Michigan. From there, we bought a title company, and then we had a mortgage play that we sold off after that. So it's been a crazy 3 years, and now we're starting to get into some more investing in multifamily stuff. I'm bringing some of my players along with me that I played with, Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, as being some of my backing for some of these deals, my investors. So it's going really well. It's going really well. I never expected to be this far this soon, but I'm here.
Isn't it amazing how many doors football opens up for you?
You know, it really is
incredible. It's a gateway into everything that you do. You know, tell us a little bit about that, and as you enter the business world.
Well, I think the one thing that I did well was I just made myself available. You know, I always try to keep ego out of it. You know, I was never too proud to shake anybody's hand or sign a ball or take a picture or anything like that. So I think that gave me, I think that gave me a leg up on even my other teammates. But when you play football, people want to be around you. You know, and it's going to at least get you in the door.
It is.
And when you get in the door, if you can deliver, if you can, you know, if you can show up and show them that you belong there, you know, you should win every time.
Because you have the work ethic already as a football player coming up. And, you know, we talked about this before ourselves about the fact that 87% of players 2 years after retirement end up divorced and or bankrupt.
Yeah.
And you're in year 3 and thriving right now. And talk a little bit about what your goal is with the other players that are out there.
Well, I think that's the thing, you know, like, you know, me and my wife, like I mentioned before, we had the vantage point of watching our fathers have to rebuild themselves, reinvent themselves when they were done, right? So you see those struggles, you know, you understand those struggles, and we made it, you know, over the long haul. But now that we're in a different age and there's more money and there's more education for guys like us, we should be thinking a whole different, you know, kind of way. You know, we should be reinventing a lot earlier, you know, while we're playing. I think real estate is a great vehicle for guys to use because cash is king, and they have cash. And you know, now my thing is I've just seen guys, you know, spiral out of control when they're done. You know, you work your whole life to get to a certain point, and you actually make it, and then it's over before you know it. You know, like anybody, you guys play football, you guys know how that is. You know, and you know, the tough thing is when you get very far. You know, you play 9-10 years in the league, and it's been your whole life. You're almost behind the 8 ball a little bit, and you know
the real world.
The real world.
What to do next?
You know, what to do next, how to do it, who to trust.
Sure.
You know, things like that. So, you know, we've tried to make it a place where it's safe for players to come. You know, invest in some of our deals just to get their feet wet. Teach them how we do things as far as real estate investing, and then, you know, make connections for them. You know, set them up with different people and bring them around in different places where they can meet different people, like we were just talking before about getting in the door. Well, we want to bring the guys in the door. You know what I mean? So there's no guesswork or there's no decision on where to go. You know, so
if you could hold a symposium right now and talk to 10 new draft picks in the NFL, knowing what you know now and what you've seen, what would you tell them?
I would say buy real estate.
That's getting in early, huh?
You know, that's one thing. You know, the guys that are investing with me, we always sit back and talk about. Man, if I would just started when I was a rookie.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right?
You don't know. You know, and I think that's the interesting thing about where I want to take things, where we want to take things, is that everybody in the NFL, when you get in, says, "Hey, you got to have a plan when you're done. You got to have a plan when you're done." But then at the same breath, you're saying, hey, we want you to focus 100% on football, right? So nobody's providing that plan for the guys, or at least some sort of blueprint. So to us, we live like, okay, if we can just open the door, open a little bit of light right here, a lot of guys will walk through it. That 87% of being, you know, divorced and broke and bankrupt, you know, we can at least get that number down a little bit, you know, if not break it in half, you know. So there's so many different opportunities, so many things those guys are going to have to overcome when they're done playing. If we can give them some purpose, you know, I think that helps a lot of it.
Yeah, if you think about it, like, you know, football players are always taught to read the playbook, right? They're coached. You're in a very structured environment. We've talked about that with Michigan State. And then you go into the real world, there is no playbook.
Life skills.
Yeah, there is no structured environment. It's kind of do what you're going to do.
Right, absolutely.
And you're providing a place for them to have that structured environment and giving them a roadmap, which is great.
You know, I've had clients in the NFL, and I've gotten rid of a lot of them because of the fact of just the people around them, right? Their agents, their hanger-oners, the middle guys, and it can get very difficult, very frustrating to deal with them. So I can see, you know, it's got to be, you know, you're a 21-year-old kid, you get a bunch of money, and you got everybody calling you. I'm trying to get their hands on you, and that can be overwhelming, you know. I mean, there's definitely a niche for that. There's definitely a niche for cash management. I know guys that are helping guys manage their daily lives and manage their cash and their spending and giving them money to live off of. And so there's so many aspects to that you can provide that value add. You seem to have a very good head on your shoulders and understand, that next phase has come and you seem to be thriving.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about who's the best player you ever played against?
Best player played against? Well, I mean, there's a lot of great ones. Mike Daniels in Green Bay. Towards the end of my career, I really struggled with him at the end. Justin Smith, I mean, I used to train all year for that guy and nobody else. I just thought he was that good. He had 3 moves. You couldn't stop either, any of them.
It's country strong.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
San Francisco?
Yes.
Yeah.
Missouri?
Yep, Missouri. He was the one that stands out. Calais Campbell, Arizona. He was another one. And, a guy we had here in Dominican Sue, I never got a chance to play against him in the game, but I knew what he was bringing.
So here's a guy that they say is really smart, has planning for the future. I know guys that he's trained under for real estate and understanding the whole development game. And he seems to be a guy, regardless of how he left or what he did, but preparing for the after football. Are you aware of?
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
It was really interesting when I got out and I started getting more into the business world and started meeting some of the bigger players in town in the development space. We own the title company, so I was trying to sell a lot of title. And the most interesting thing what they would say is, hey, Fridays Sue used to come here and sit in our development meetings, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit because when I was in the locker room, we would watch him walk out the door, and we used to be like, man, look at this guy. He doesn't want to hang with his team, and he doesn't want to, socialize with us. But really, he was going to get an education, And we obviously know, he signed a big deal here and then signed an even bigger deal in Miami. So his future's bright. There's been times where I've seen Warren Buffett walk out of his suite and I got to shake his hand and that kind of thing. So very connected. They got the Nebraska connection.
Yeah, sure.
He's obviously going to have enough money to, start up capital to do what he wants to do. And he's got the education and he's smart and he's tenacious. So,
he's smart. He's
engineer. Engineering degree out of Nebraska.
So he'll be just fine.
It's so funny that, if the guy blows his knee out and can never play again, nobody will look at him, Yeah. We expect them to give us their all, or how could they leave, or how could they think about themselves, and people don't realize there's a whole other side to that. You have to make what you can now. You have to get your guaranteed money up front. You have to save and get ready for the next phase. So currently now with the Detroit Lions, they made the playoffs last year. Organizationally, I've never been a big fan just because of their 100-year history, but Quinn, the new general manager, seems to be getting pretty good grades, and you look at it from the outside. He last year he had a ton of his draft picks play, and they weren't in 1-15 or 2-14. They were a playoff team, and he seems to around the league when you talk to folks, he seems to have a knack for just that New England Belichick, finding that 3rd, 4th, 5th round value guy.
Right.
Have you met him? Do you know anything about him? What do the current players think about him?
Yeah, I did. It was after I retired the year, shortly after I retired, he got hired. And, I was at a function and ended up meeting up with him and Rod Wood, his new president there, and Coach Caldwell was there. So, Coach Caldwell was kind of introducing me to those guys. And the most interesting thing to me was he kind of when they said my name, he kind of got wide-eyed at me. It was kind of like, man, I watched every play you ever, played, and, it's just like, I got respect for you and all that. And that just kind of struck me where a guy that, I can't really help you anymore. I've already put my papers in. I'm moving on to something else. I have no plans on coming back. But he still had that moment and, invited me in and, hey, I want to meet with you and talk with you about things and you're welcome here anytime. And that goes a long way for a player that leaves an organization, for one. And it's good for the players to see that.
Very good.
You keep seeing that familiar face keep walking through the door, and with open arms. I think that's special when guys they play a little bit harder for you when that happens, I think. That's the only thing. I think guys, they bind a little bit more to what you're preaching. And, I think guys love them, and I think that's the whole Patriots organization. I think that's what he's bringing. Those guys are actual football fans. Those guys look at the players and say, wow, man, this, now let me see what I can get out of this guy,
Well, Rod Wood's interesting, right? He's not a football guy. Never doesn't know a thing about football. He's the president.
Finance guy.
Yeah, so he's running the finance. He's running that side of it. I think any organization, NFL or any organization, even a university, right? When you welcome back your former players, you know, it really says a lot about the culture. Mm-hmm. You know, I think Coach D'Antonio at Michigan State has really set that as one of his priorities, right? Every former player is welcome back. This is your house, you built it. And then like winning becomes a byproduct of that, mm-hmm. you know? Look at New England, players take pay cuts to go. You know, it's all about winning over there. Mm-hmm. There's, you know, nobody gets out of line. It's a culture thing. Yep. Mm-hmm. You know, the Lions have a long way to go to change the culture, a long way. Mm-hmm. But it seems to be where this guy seems to have a plan and know what he's doing, you know.
Taking care of the alumni. You have alumni suite, and you talk a little bit about that.
Oh, you have alumni suite, the Lions, huh?
Yeah, so, you know, like I said, for me, I mean, they roll out the red carpet. A lot of the older guys are still here. I mean, you know, I'm as good as friends with them as I am Calvin and Golden. You know, Lomas Brown, me and him call and cut up sometimes. And,
Lomas was a guest here.
Yeah,
Lomas was.
Yeah. We got more than 15 viewers when he came out.
Yeah, I bet. So the thing is with, I mean, you know, so they provided an alumni suite for us. You know,
that's great.
A couple weeks ago, we actually, you know, in Ford Field, they put $100 million in the Ford Field.
Yeah, man.
Wow. So, you know, I got to tour that facility, and they kind of just make us aware of things, and I mean, it's fun. You know, the Eddie Murray's, you know, come around, and you get to hear those older stories.
Eddie Murray's got a lot of stories. He was on the show too.
Yeah, the best storyteller, of course, is Lynn Barney. He doesn't get any better than that.
Lynn,
you know, I mean, he's the best. You know,
he is fantastic.
Yeah, he's the best, man. And so it's good. So you got this little fraternity outside of your own, you know, the fraternity that you just left. You got these older guys, you know, still carry weight in the city and still.
They live here. They
live
stay
here.
So does Kelvin stay here year round?
Golden Tate? You know, for now.
For now.
You know, we've had some conversations and about, you know, his future. You know, hopefully he sticks around a little bit more.
So why'd he leave?
The same reason we all do. You know, I mean, you get beat up and you get tired. You know,
so it's not that the Lions are the only organization in history to force two of the greatest players in retirement, Larry and Kelvin.
You know, we're talking about, you know, culture, you know, things like that, and trying to win right now. And when you're trying to win right now, you put an emphasis on your best players, mm-hmm. and after a while, that can take a toll on them. And I think that happened in both Barry and Calvin's case. You know, you take a toll on them and you use them more than maybe they should be, because, you know, the attitude around the city is you have to win right now. Well, you know, when I go back to some of those good days when, you know, Matthew was throwing 5,000 yards a year and Calvin was breaking records, and every games we playing 80 plays a game.
God, that's a lot.
You know, so we just had one of those high-flying offenses, and after a while, you know, I mean, if you really take a look at it, really, you know, Nate Burleson, you know, left the game a little bit early. Mm-hmm. He could have played, you know, Calvin's leaving, you know, myself, I left. You know, we lost a lot of linemen in that span of those years, and that's because we were just using each other up.
Was Burleson a slot guy?
Yeah.
Golden Tate's been around a while. He's just smaller and doesn't seem to take a big hit, you know. He's able to get down, you know.
That's why he'll play. As I was saying, he'll play forever.
Yeah.
You know, he like Steve Smith, man. You can never, you know,
you can't get him.
You can't hit him. Can't hit him clean.
Yeah.
Never.
He was a Seattle guy and Detroit as well.
Yeah. He was. You know, it's kind of weird because you got a pipeline from Seattle to Detroit almost, you know.
What's the connection? Is there?
I don't know.
And vice versa.
I think
Cliff Averill went out there.
Yeah, Cliff went out there. That's right.
You know, I think you just, you know, going back to 2000, let me say, 6, 7, whenever the Super Bowl was here and Seattle played here against the Steelers.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the connection was with that, but it seems like since then, I mean, you had Mo Morris come from there. You know, Nate, myself, Lawrence Jackson. Will Heller.
Yeah, Will Heller.
You know,
right.
so you know that's 5 guys, and then you see the reverse. You know, taking a guy like Cliff. You know, Cliff goes out there and, you know, sets the world on fire.
It's paid.
Yeah, kind of like paid. The Tigers and
although
the Rangers.
I can come off the edge on that defense. So. They got a pretty good front seven.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
really good.
He's not getting double teamed much.
No.
He's able to come off.
Can't double team anybody.
No, he can't come to anybody. They are good. I mean, their front seven. I mean, their whole defenses.
Yep, you send 4 or 5 and a linebacker, it's over.
It's tough. Yeah. I've never seen a secondary so big. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
Cam Chancellor and even Sherman. I mean, they're all big.
Right.
So my cousin was quality controls over there.
Okay.
Robert Saleh, who now is the defensive coordinator of the 49ers.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when
he's my cousin too.
Yeah, he is. Jason's cousin too. Dearborn Raw related.
Okay.
So
good to know.
He at that time he was they walked out to practice one day, he was telling me, and they looked around and they just said, who are these guys?
Right.
Like they got a bunch of 5th, 6th, 7th, 4th round guys.
Yeah.
And they lined them up and they just couldn't believe where they found these guys at. And I think that year, like they cut 12 guys that started on other teams.
Yeah.
So they like kind of lucked into, I'm not gonna say luck, but
Yeah.
they were all a bunch of no-name defenders at one point, and he couldn't believe how good they were. And I remember they just signed that quarterback. Was it Hasselbeck?
Was it Hasselbeck?
From Green Bay, they just signed Hasselbeck.
No,
it was
Matt Flynn.
Matt Flynn. So they signed him to
$35 million or so, or 40.
So like 2 weeks into camp, I'm talking to Robert. I said, so how's Flynn doing? He goes, he's not gonna be a starter. Like, what do you mean? He goes, that kid from Wisconsin. That Russell Wilson. Within 2 weeks, they knew he was gonna be the starting quarterback.
Well, it's so interesting is that, there's always like the flip side of those stories. So like those 5th round draft picks that they were getting, one of them was the guy I was traded for. So Cam Chancellor, so you got taken in the 5th round. That was the when I got him to Detroit. That was they got the 5th round draft pick.
And that's Cam.
Yeah, it's Cam. And then what's crazy is Matt Flynn goes to Seattle after that.
He blew up that Detroit
Russell,
game. He blew up.
He blew up that Detroit game where we scored 51.
Yeah. I remember that game. The last game of the year. Yeah.
He got paid. Yeah,
he got paid.
It's always interesting to see. Like,
has he played it all? Matt Flynn played it all anywhere?
So
he just beat us bad.
That game.
He's a rich man.
What do you think about Caldwell, Coach Caldwell?
I love him as a coach. If me, Calvin, guys I was mentioning had to leave earlier, where, remember the story I was telling about Schwartz. He almost had to run us into the ground and kind of beat us up to get the culture to change. But when Caldwell came in, it was very much more relaxed.
I heard Schwartz lost a lot of the guys, though, at the end.
I mean, there's always turmoil. There's always struggle trying to rebuild something. That's what it's going to be. And I can't imagine being in his position, that job, and having to turn that around. But, Caldwell's definitely the guy to take it the rest of the way. I believe that. And, if we'd have had him for a couple more years, who knows? We could have been still playing. Who knows? I
like Caldwell's demeanor. I think the players respect that.
Yeah.
I think having a strong African-American presence, too, in the locker room is huge with the players.
Yeah.
And I think
I agree.
He commands a lot of respect around the league.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that his demeanor he carries as a head coach. He's very even keel.
Even keel. Authentic. That's what I say about him all the time. People ask. He's not trying to be anything he's not. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of coaches have to do the rah-rah and the fire players when you get to a certain age. We can see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Pete Carroll keeps getting open. That's Pete Carroll's MO, and it's all day. And it might be getting old because you hear him and Sherman and some of those guys. That ESPN wrote a pretty lengthy article about the division within the defense and stuff like that. But you're right.
Its toll.
It takes its toll. I mean, even like a Harbaugh style, right? Just grinding the players in NFL, you can't do that. It takes a few years after that.
You got to calm down when you call a pass play on third down and goal for the Super Bowl
with Marshawn
Lynch in the backfield. That's tough.
That was crazy.
That's a tough call.
That's a walk-in.
You don't live that one down.
He's back now too, huh?
Yeah.
With the Raiders.
He's back
with the Raiders.
It's hard to leave. It's hard to leave it.
That's a tough position too. You just get the running backs just get blown up all day.
Yeah.
You got to be a big back. You got to be able to
take it.
Oh God,
that's a long time to play in.
You ever pick up a ball in the game? You ever had that?
It was a preseason game.
I love talking about that with live.
Ball got thrown. It was in San Diego. Ball got thrown, hit a helmet. I caught it, rambled for about 16 yards.
16?
Come on.
First down.
I don't remember that.
Man.
Steve, it was a preseason game. Sean Merriman chasing me. I was scared to death.
Really?
Don't even know. It was like a 16. It was like a 16 yards.
That's
I was
awesome.
rolling. Got to flip the ball the whole nine. Yeah.
So when you were at Ohio State, let's go back to college. You guys had tremendous success. I mean, you guys, how many national championships? How many? 3 BCS bowls, right? No?
Yeah, 3 BCS bowls, all Fiesta bowls.
All Big Ten championships.
That was kind of like our place. We had, I think we shared a couple Big Ten championships in there. We had one, we won, and the national championship. So I lost a total of, I don't know, maybe 8 games in college.
So, I don't know if the viewers probably don't know, but we shared the same offensive line coach.
Oh, yeah.
At Michigan State, Coach Jim Bowman.
Yeah.
So him and I, Jason and I played for Coach Bowman.
Right.
who was at Michigan State, went, along his various stops, went to Ohio State, coached you, was
Did he recruit you?
He recruited me. Yeah.
Recruited you.
He recruited me. Yeah.
Won a ton of championships and rings, and that's how. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And
it's cool.
He then he comes back to Michigan State. He's here now. Him and his wife said to me that you are one of their favorite players they've ever coached and known. You've always been a gentleman. You've always been polite. Yeah. It was you and Nick Mangold. You love Nick.
Yeah.
And then the center at Saints. What was his name?
Oh, Charles Bentley.
Oh, Charles.
Great
one.
Yeah.
Great one.
And I mean, Coach speaks the world of you. Coach said I was a better player, though.
Just for the record.
Just for the record.
You got to get that out.
2 years at Michigan State. He only played 8-10 years in the NFL. You had any great Jim Bowman stories at all?
Oh, man, there's plenty of them, man. I mean, you can go on and on and on.
He's quite a character.
Yeah, I remember I was cramping. We were all doing like a run, to the stadium, and I was cramping real bad, and I stopped because I was struggling. Probably was out too late the night before. Coach turns around like, "You okay?" And then he trips over his trash can. It was crazy.
You were trying to protect you?
Sorry, Coach. You all right, Rob? Yeah, I'm cool, Coach.
It would
falls and it's just crazy.
It would be 10 below, and he would come out.
Those shorts.
Just shorts.
Those
shorts.
You got to be dying.
Jacket on, hood on, gloves, and shorts.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, it just made no sense to me,
Right. He's a great coach, man. He's a great coach about football. Being a man, watching how he was with his family and stuff. His girl, his youngest daughter was in my, she was in my class.
Stephanie.
So it was cool. Yeah, Stephanie. So Courtney's the older one, right?
Yes, Courtney's older. Yep.
Yeah. So it was
wonderful.
It was
kids.
Cool.
They
was
are.
Cool.
It's funny, he coached me, left, came back to MSU, and now I'm up there, on the board, and it's like life. Life goes full circle.
Right.
It's the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Just you see all these, because Coach D was there. Mm-hmm. They're all from the Tressel tree, right?
Yeah.
All there. You got Tress's nephew, Staten, O-line coach, Bowles, D'Antonio was his defensive coordinator.
Yep.
He was there your freshman year, right?
Yep.
And then he left.
Freshman year, and he left. Yeah.
When you were there as a freshman, he was the defensive coordinator.
Yep.
Could you tell he was destined for greatness?
Oh, absolutely. That defense,
come on, you were a freshman.
That defense was unbelievable.
They were unbelievable.
They were, you had the late Will Smith.
Yeah, that's right. That was
Matt Wilhelm, Mike Doss.
Had a great defense.
Great Dustin Fox, and then you had the younger guys. So the guys in my class was A.J. Hawk, Bobby Carpenter.
Oh.
People like that. So
it's players.
Yeah, it's players.
I remember before that Miami game, the national championship. I was talking to him. He goes, "We're going to get after that quarterback." Was it Ken Dorsey?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "We're going to get after him."
Oh yeah.
They didn't think they didn't think if they brought pressure that he could survive throwing the ball, and
Great
they
game
did.
plan.
They came after him.
They
and
beat him up.
Took him out
slowed that game down.
I gave him a sack in overtime. I was scared to death. I thought I lost it for us. But
oh man!
battle back.
Then you got that phantom holding penalty.
Yeah, ridiculous. yeah. It was cool though.
It was great stuff, man.
It was great.
So, well, it's great to have you, Rob.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming. We wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Maybe next time you can bring Kelvin on for us.
Sure.
We'd love to have him.
Sure.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. So thank you, everybody, for watching us. You are watching Beyond the Highlights. I am Brian Musalam with your co-host, Jason Strayhorn. We'll see you next time. Thank you.